Es Andrea Antonello. Andrea Antonello es gerente de la empresa Hydrolochis y va a hablar un poco de una aplicación que es Geopaparazzi, que es una solución para toma y gestión de datos en campo que funciona en dispositivos Android. Antonello, cuando te venga bien.
Buenas. Quería muchísimo hablar en español, pero no estoy listo este año, el próximo. Así es que I'm going to talk in English, but believe me, this will be a very lightweight presentation, even if, I have a very loud voice, I think, so I'll keep it kind of here. So what I'm going to talk about you today is quickly about myself. I'm just an environmental engineer. I'm working on open source geographic software since ages now. And I'm of a small company called Hydrologists. We are now part of the GVSIG association. And the projects we work on are mainly Geopaparazzi, which is what I'm talking about today, and JGRASS tools, which is a spatial toolbox that we are bringing into GVSIG. So what I would like to bring to you today is everybody's talking about mobile. You all have a smartphone. Everybody's going into the internet. But do you remember how this all started? So what was that got everything started? I mean, in 1991, the mobile market penetration was 0.4%, which means that on 1,000 people, 4 people had a mobile connection. In only 20 years, we got to almost 100%, 91 and something percent. In 2010, Luxembourg was the first country in 2002 that came to 100% mobile penetration. So at that point, every citizen was supposed to have an active connection. In 2011, 105 countries had more activations than inhabitants. The mobile penetration in Saudi Arabia in 2010 was like twice the one in the United States. So almost every citizen had 2 active connections. So things got very, very quick. In 2011, in India, we had 145 million of activations, which was the same as Europe, Russia, and Arabia placed together. The internet traffic, if you ever ask yourself, since the advent of tablets and smartphones, raised like 26 times, and only 7 times in the last 5 years. The coverage of mobile connection was in 2003 like 61% over the world, and in 2010 we reached 90%. But how was this distributed properly? We could say that I have some statistics about 2011 regarding phones. The digital divide was not that much because we have in developed countries more than 100% of active lines more than 100 active lines for 100 inhabitants, but in developing countries it was around 80 and something percent, which is not bad. But when it comes to broadband and internet connections, things change, because in that case the digital divide is something between 8% and 51%, which is quite more. So we have to work on that still. This is a slide I like to show every time, because you should be aware that around 2010, 235 million of devices were sold, and the same year, more than the half was trashed. So just in the USA. So this is a market that produces a lot of very particular garbage. And what about the devices? So in 1973, this is the year we made a contact. After years of research in Motorola and the Bell Labs, finally Motorola was able to create a cell phone, the first working cell phone, and in the 3rd of April, Mr. Martin Cooper from Motorola made a call to the Bell Labs, to Engel of Bell Labs, to tell him, hey, we made it first. The first phone was like 1.5 kilograms of weight, 23 centimeters long, took 10 hours to charge, and in 30 minutes, it was gone. But it was the first. It took 10 years to get to the first really commercially available cell phone, which was the Dynatac 8000X. It was bought obviously only by businessmen, and it was the moment at which cell phones were featured in movies. So every time a nice cell phone came out, there is a movie that will feature that. In this case, the movie Wall Street with Michael Douglas. Some might remember it. 4 years after that, Nokia produced the MOBIRA CITYMAN, which was better known as the Gorba, because there is this well-known picture that depicts Gorbachev that was having a call. He was at the conference in Helsinki, and there was an urgency, and he called to Moscow. So this was a very important moment. In 1993, IBM produced the IBM Simon. It was the first with a touch screen, so it was kind of a precursor of smartphones, and it was featured in the movie The Net in 1995. In this period, also, the first PDA, which is the personal digital assistant, some might remember it. They thought they were thought to be the next big thing. Actually, it was for a time, and then, yeah, we will see how that went. In 1996, the first really cool phone came out. It was a Motorola STARTAC, and it was the first that was flipping. It has vibration, and it was the first that introduced kind of the concept of fashion in the mobile device things. And obviously, it came kind of from the Star Trek movie series. In 1996, the Nokia 9000 communicator. It was the first real smartphone that has even a keyboard. It was featured in the movie The Saint in 1997. And in 1999, how could you forget that? In the Matrix, you had this Nokia 8110, which was the first that even supported internet connection through the WAP protocol, and you could navigate, and I think the Matrix movie is what made really important this phone. In 2000, we were already there. A lot of things came out with MP3 reader. You started to have cameras on the phones, and you had the possibility to have internal antenna and correction of your writing through the T9 system. So things were rather big at that time, and in 2007, a really monster phone came out. I owned it, I really liked it, the Nokia N95, which had more or less everything you would need. Wi-Fi, GPS, accelerometer. You could program it in Java, in other languages. Huge storage for that time. But it had a problem, because in 2007, something changed completely. And Apple breaks the market with what was the really new thing. It seemed to have the same things as the ones before, but it has the design, the touch, everything you might need, internet. It was built for that time. And hundreds of people were waiting hundreds of hours in front of the Apple stores. They do it today also, I think. I don't know, an iPhone. However, the same year, they were the first that came, but the same year something interesting happened. 2 years before, a company named Google bought a company named Android. And in 2007, they organized a whole pile of companies to build the Open Handset Alliance. About 80 companies started to develop open standards for mobile devices. And this is where Android started to gain interest. And in 2008, the first Android phone was produced. Just to get a grip on what happened on the Windows side, Windows Phone was released, 7 was released in 2010, which is 2 years later than everyone else, and which is why it's still lagging behind. I think they lost a bit of terrain there. So from here on, I think everybody knows what happened, because it's smartphone area, but maybe not everyone knows what happened in the free and open source geospatial world. Because for a lot of time before Android, there was this myth of grass, I don't know if you know the GIS grass, running on a PDA. I saw it because the headquarters of grass was in my studying town. It was nice to look at, but it really didn't do anything more than this. It was useless, but it was a nice prototype. Some other things were built, and I think the one that was best built for that time was GVSIG Mobile. It really crashed the market of the open source applications for mobile. It supported a lot of stuff. I'm sure some of you used it. It supported shapefiles, GML, KML, WMS, lots of stuff, editing geometries, producing of forms, standardized surveys, but it had a problem. The operating system it was built on was already old when it was produced. So in the age in which Android and iPhone came out, this product, I remember some companies in Italy that still used it because it was that good, but at some point it was simply no longer maintained. Some other products came around, and we started to develop Geopaparazzi, which is basically a tool for Android that gives the possibility to do quick, simple surveys. You can take notes like text notes, you can take sketches you can draw on your screen, or you can take pictures and place them, georeference them inside points of interest, notes. And you can also log your GPS in lines. And you have obviously a map view in which you can load background maps that could be vector maps, but even some raster maps that are tiled. You can load pretty much whatever you like in the background of your survey. After a couple of years, the interest on vector got bigger and bigger, so we started to add support for spatial light. And that's why now you can overlay spatial light vector data onto your map view. And we also added editing support for the different geometries, like polygon, line, and points can now be added, and the attribute table can be edited. That said, it is possible really to take different cartographies, as you can see in your GIS, I will show you later how, and you can merge them together to create your background maps, which gives you the possibility to do quite professional surveys. A couple of use cases that have been done since then is in Osaka, Geopaparazzi has been used to support disaster management, and it was coupled together with Map Guide Open Source, which is an open source framework from Autodesk, and with which they handled disaster management and of flooding in the cities. Also in New York, the New York Natural Heritage Program, which is the group that funded the editing part in Geopaparazzi, they use it, for example, to map invasive species in their Map Invasiveness program. In 2015, as I said, hydrologists joined the GVSIG Association, and we started to invest in bringing our tools into GVSIG. And so the first things that happened were soon, it's already working, we need to release the plugins. There is support in the Add Layers tab. You have a support for Geopaparazzi. So you can take your survey, you reference it there, and it generates you the digital version in shape files and images and everything connected of your survey. So no need to do anything, it just imports it for you. The other way around, when you need to prepare your survey, it's quite nice because you can load in your map view the files you need, and then you have a nice tool in which you say which zoom levels you want, and whatever you see on the map will be generated as an MB tiles. It's a file format for Geopaparazzi to show the map on the background. So you can generate your survey data, to prepare your survey with GVSIG. Recently, we also added something that is like a project browser. It happens if you use it a lot. I have like a folder full of Geopaparazzi archives, and I started to have issues with finding where what work was. And so we have now a browser in which you can even connect your phone to the desktop, and you can upload from the phone your project, and then you can browse the projects with metadata, and it will show you the information that are kept inside of the project in a three-dimensional map view. And as you can see, you can also visualize nodes, images, even the profile of a log can be visualized in a chart view. In 2016 then, we started to collaborate internally with some of the GVSIG association companies, and it was very nice because we started to work on the integration of Geopaparazzi also with GYSIGONLINE. Maybe yesterday somebody saw the presentation of Cesar Martinez. They worked on the possibility to download layers from GVSIGONLINE directly into, you see, as you can see, you have a list of layers you can download. It will download for you a special light database. You can then edit it offline in the field, and after that you can upload the database back to GVSIGONLINE, and it will be synchronized there for the rest. So I think I have not much more to say. The last sentence I leave you with is I really hope that in 2017 this could be the next GVSIG mobile, and we have some projects to work on it, and I think 2017 will be a very good year for the whole GVSIG ecosystem. And I think now with mobile, web, and desktop, it might be quite complete. I'll leave you with a couple of links, which are the mailing list if you have questions about Geopaparazzi, a couple of links where you find documentation about Geopaparazzi, and if you want to help translate the application, there's also this Transifex links, brings you to a simple methodology to translate the application. I think that is all. Thank you very much.
Grazie tante, Andrea. Abrimos ahora un turno de preguntas. A vuestra disposición tenéis, por favor, todos los ponentes. Intentamos, si hay alguna duda, alguna aclaración. Sí que rogamos que lo hagáis a través del micrófono porque se está grabando en stream en la presentación. ¿Alguna pregunta para algún ponente? Ahí tenemos una.
Es para Andrea, te la hago en castellano, sí. No. Dijiste que, creo que dijiste que puedes generar un MBTiles, un MBTiles a partir de la vista de GWSIG, pero eso solo, por ejemplo, de una capa WMS que tengas cargada, o si tienes, por ejemplo, capas vectoriales por encima, hace una composición y guarda el MBTiles de verdad, el que ve el usuario. I can read in English if you prefer, but... Okay. Okay. But that's what that is very interesting, because you can have you can use MV tiles for a lot of applications, not only for Geopaparazzi. You have a great export tool now, So
¿Alguna cuestión más? Sí.
Bueno, una observación sobre la huerta de Valencia, que se ha definido como un cinturón verde que rodea a Valencia. Yo la veo más como un grupo, un conjunto de islas que han quedado rodeadas por el área metropolitana. Es una cuestión de percepción al mirar el mismo mapa.
Rafael.
Desde luego que sí, la verdad es que desde unos años atrás hemos perdido ya un 30% de toda la superficie de huerta y bueno, sí, es una manera más de mirarlo. Yo lo he querido definir así por factores medioambientales, pero sí, es otro punto de vista totalmente válido.
¿Alguna pregunta más? Bueno, sí, ahí tenemos una, sí.
sí, yo tenía una cuestión sobre el tema de la segmentación dinámica, que al final no me quedó claro, que creo que lo comentaste, pero no me quedó claro. Por ejemplo, cuando se hace una modificación del trazado de la carretera y una curva se cambia o lo que sea, los aforos o los elementos que tengas referenciados a SPK pues, al final van a cambiar. SPK ya no, digamos, ya va a existir o va a referenciar otro punto. Entonces, ¿cómo hacéis esa gestión de históricos, de almacenar los trazados y de antiguos y demás? Creo que lo comentaste, de que se podían importar accidentes de otros años con otros trazados, ¿no?
Sí, aquí lo fundamental es mantener el campo fecha. Es decir, tú, aunque un tramo, por ejemplo, una variante de un casco urbano, entonces la carretera va por el casco urbano y se hace una variante, entonces pasa a ser municipal, ya no es carretera y la carretera va por allá. Bueno, eso entra en funcionamiento una fecha en concreto. Entonces cualquier elemento que georreferencies va con fecha. Un accidente ocurre un día en concreto, entonces con ese dato fecha, y como cada elemento tiene su fecha de entrada y su fecha de salida, se georreferenciará al segmento correcto comparando el campo fecha. Es decir, si la variante entra en vigor el 1 de enero y el accidente ocurre el 2 de enero, pues ya se georreferenciará porque el otro segmento sale del catálogo como carretera ese 1 de enero. No sé si me estoy explicando bien.
Sí.
Al igual que los segmentos, los segmentos de aforos, si los georreferencias con una fecha en concreto, se irá por un sitio a la hora de georreferenciado o se irá por otro dependiendo de la fecha de entrada y salida.
Vale.
¿Alguna aclaración más? No sé si te he contestado exactamente lo que querías.
Sí,
o...
yo creo que sí. Sí. Bueno, nosotros también hemos hecho alguna cosa con referenciación lineal y tal, y son los típicos problemas que tienes al final, que son, bueno, a veces son complicados de resolver. Luego también el tema un poco de cómo gestionáis las glorietas y rotondas y eso es...
Eso, bueno, a veces son parches y a veces se está intentando hacer un poco mejor, pero las glorietas, las isletas deflectoras, las isletas deflectoras que se dividen en dos, como lo hace, es complicado porque no... En la glorieta hay parte, si tiene por isleta deflectora hay parte que tiene PKs y parte que no, porque entonces es difícil, es difícil. Hicimos en su día una mini chaputa que es solamente georreferenciar, aplicar segmentación dinámica a una parte de la glorieta, cosa que es incorrecta, porque una parte es sentido ascendente y otra sentido descendente y debería tenerse en cuenta, pero en su momento no se pudo y estamos en ello, no es fácil, la verdad.
Vale, sí, pues, como todos.
Sí, gracias. ¿Alguna cuestión más? No, pues nada, agradeceros la presencia y también Manuel, Rafael, Roberto, José, Andrea, muchísimas gracias. Un punto que